Hi there, this is Nicole from Right at Home, and today I'm sharing a card using the Bells and Baubles stamp set, Snow Flurries background stamp, and Fa La La, which are all from our November release. I'm going to start by stamping out all of my ornaments from the Bells and Baubles stamp set onto their coordinating die cuts. I won't end up using all of these ornaments on the final card, but I just wanted to show you how they all layer together. When doing stamp layering, I like to start by doing all of the base layers first so that I can allow that first layer of ink to start to dry down into the cardstock before I put another layer of ink on top. Once your first layer of ink has had a few seconds to dry, you can go over top with your second layer of ink. Sometimes if you don't allow your first layer of ink to dry completely, then when you add your second layer on top, they will start to dry down and mix together as they both dry. All of the ink colors I used will be listed in the description box down below. Now that the base layers are done, I can move on to adding the next few layers. On some of these ornaments, they have open spaces for the second and third layers, so on those ones you can play around with the color palette. On the rest of the ornaments that have a solid base layer, you'll want to be sure to choose a ink color that is darker than the base layer so that it pops off the ornament and is defined. If you're ever having trouble figuring out which layer goes next on these ornaments, you can download the coordinating stamping guide at rightathomeshop.com. I wanted the final layer on all of these ornaments to really pop off of all of the colored bases, so I decided to go in with the VersaFine Clear ink in Nocturne. Now that my ornaments are done, I can move on to stamping some of the accessory pieces like the bows and ribbons, and then you can stamp the tops of the ornaments using that same black ink. I also stamped a few more bows off camera in some different ink colors so that I could have them on hand for when I was assembling the card. Here I'm moving on to my background panel, which I created using my Snow Flurries background stamp. Inside of my mini Misty here, I have a piece of white A2 size cardstock. Mounted onto the door, I have the base layer of snowflakes from the set, and I stamped that down using a mint colored ink. Now I can move on to adding all of the fill-in snowflake pieces, and for those I'm using all of the same ink colors that I used on the ornaments. I also decided to add in a few neutral colors like gray and another shade of blue. This stamp set also has a coordinating stamping guide that you can download on our website, and I will also be sure to link it in the description box down below. However, I do encourage you just to have fun playing around with this set and all of the different pieces to create different looks using different color schemes and just different arrangements. This set has a lot of possibilities and is really fun to stamp with. For my sentiment panel, I'm using this sentiment from my Fa La La stamp set. I thought that the merry and oh so bright sentiment really matched the colorful palette that I have going on this card, and I'm stamping that down onto a stitched rectangle using that same crisp black ink from VersaFine. Here I'm using some Distress Oxide ink in peeled paint to ink up a panel of white cardstock. I wanted to have a place for my ornaments to hang on my card, so I looked through my stash and thought that my seasonal wreath die set would be the perfect fit. I die cut that from the panel, and here I'm just clipping off some of the branches, and I'll arrange those along the top of my card and then nestle in my ornaments between the leaves. I adhered down the branches to the top of my sentiment panel using some liquid glue, and for all of my ornaments I popped those up onto the panel using dimensional adhesive. I also popped up the little hooks, and any of the bows or ribbons that go on top of the ornaments, those were adhered down with some tape runner adhesive. I also adhered down my snowflake panel onto an A2 sized card base, just using some tape runner adhesive. I popped up my sentiment panel into the center of the card base, and my card was finished. I hope you enjoyed today's bright and colorful holiday card. I'll make sure to link all of the supplies in the description box down below, as well as the blog post for more information. Make sure to subscribe to this channel before you leave, and I hope you have a great day.